sure. Okay, starting in 3, 2, 1, go! So this is Final Fantasy 1 any percent for the PSP, which is probably one of my main games, if not my main game at that. I'm gonna go right off the bat, I'm gonna buy a hammer, and that seems really odd, but the PSP version of FF1 is unique to an equipment glitch. Let's see if we can get it. It is a frame-perfect glitch, so it can be a little hard to pull off, but it's not as difficult as it may look. But yeah, basically what I do is I go into the menu, and on the same frame, I go from a weapon slot to an armor slot, or vice versa. And that loads in the ID, in this case of the hammer, but on an armor slot, and that ID happens to correspond with the ID of the knight's armor, which is the third most expensive piece of armor in the game. So, really good piece of armor, really powerful bit of equipment, but with that, let's continue, because we've got more than enough armor to beat us through the game. Now all we need is some good weapons, and we're pretty much set. Now, with that, we're gonna head into the first dungeon, which is Chaos' Shrine. Which is basically the story goes that the princess has been captured, and you know, it's our task to save her. So we'll do just that. I mean, we've got one of the most powerful pieces of armor in the game. We might as well try to save a princess, right? Now, right off the bat, you're already going to notice one of the most notorious things about this game are the encounters that we're going to be seeing. Over the course of a run, the general encounters tend to add up, like it tends to roughly be the same no matter what run you're going to get, but there is some luck involved in that. First and foremost though, I'm going to get the leather cap over here. It seems like a menial piece of equipment until you notice that you can glitch it into the Judgment Staff, which is the most powerful staff in the game. So now, not only do I have one of the most powerful pieces of armor in the game, I also have the most powerful staff in the game, with, by the way, as its side ability to cast Flare. So I've got, we're like, what, 2 minutes into the game, 2.5 minutes into the game, and I've got one of the most powerful pieces of armor. I've got more healing items than I could ever need over the course of the game. And I have the most powerful staff and the most powerful black magic spell in the game already. So, pretty decent start. We're gonna talk to Garland over here. This guy, he captured the princess, and well, we'll knock him down. Yeah, that's Garland out of the way. Garland, as you can see, is an easy fight. Nothing to worry about. So that's Garland done. We're gonna get some levels and we save the princess. Now, I'll quickly give an overview of the story. We have not yet technically completely beaten Garland, because Garland has created a time loop between now and 2,000 years into the past. So in order to actually beat Garland and, you know, make time go on, we need to travel 2,000 years into the past, beat Garland in his other form, and with that we can actually, you know, with that we can break the time loop, and you know, everything will be back to normal. In order to do that, we need to collect the light from the 4 crystals of light, the crystals of earth, fire, water, and air, of which we have a miniature version of, so to speak. And we can travel back in time with that. As a reward for saving the princess, the king is going to rebuild the bridge. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to the guy in the bottom left, and note that he is working a lot slower than everybody else, because, you know, lazy guards and all that. However, they get the bridge done, and with the bridge fixed, it's time for us to move on. Somebody around town or something would tell us that, you know, if you need a ship, you can get... We don't have any ships here, which is a little weird because there are docks, but, you know... but there should be a ship in Provoca that you can get, so we're going to move over to Provoca and get ourselves a ship. Got an encounter before the bridge. That's a little unlucky, but it's okay. So we're going to step onto the bridge and we're going to get into a cutscene here. And this cutscene is actually completely skippable in the PSP version. It's the only version where this cutscene is skippable. It saves about a minute and a half right there. So easy minute and a half time save. And with that, we're going to move on. That is a little unlucky, getting a 6-wolf ambush. It's nothing too terrible, it's just a little unlucky. We've got a bit of a rough early game, but that's okay. It looks like it isn't completely fixed. I'll reset the capture card every now and again. Luckily, these battles are long enough and there's a lot of not really needing to do anything that it's not that big a deal. Yeah, wolves are probably one of the worst encounters in the game, and you can probably already see why. Wolves have very high agility, and because of that, they're really, really difficult to run from. Basically, running chances is determined by agility, so we'll get some items later on that will help us increase that agility, but we can't access those just yet. Okay, that's all out of the way, and we're going to move over to Provoca. Now in Provoca, we're going to talk to these pirates because they have taken this ship. And we're going to go for a bit of an interesting strat. We're going to defend with with the warrior and then use the judgment staff from the menu with all of the other characters. The judgment staff, when used as an item, casts flare, which, well, you'll see how powerful this is. Yeah, that was the second boss of the game. Easy fight. I will say the major downside of the judgment staff, and that's the reason we don't use it as much as we could, is that the animation for flare is about 8 seconds long, so it's a very long animation, unfortunately. Because of that, it's usually not worth using that, but hey, it's, you know, it's something. And now that we have our ship, we're gonna move over to Elfheim. Now, I could go for a little bit of a mini-game on the ship, the 15 puzzle, which, if I succeeded within between half a minute and a minute, I have a 1 in 6 chance to get an emergency exit, which saves about a minute total after you subtract the time from actually trying to get it. It saves about a minute and a half to 2 minutes on average, but it costs about half a minute to a minute to get. The problem is it's a 1 in 6 drop, so it's not very reliable, and because of that, it's generally just not considered worth it to go for. If grinding for world record, though, it is an option to try to go for that emergency exit, although even now most runners will not go for it. Now you may have noticed my HP is getting a little low, so I'm probably going to heal sometime soon. I'm kind of hoping to get, or I'm kind of expecting to get poisoned at some point, and if I get poisoned, that would be the best moment for me to heal that off. It determines a little bit, though, if I get poisoned or not. If I don't get poisoned, it's not going to be worth it. If I do get poisoned, then I will go for it. If I don't get poisoned before entering the next dungeon, then I'll just heal up regardless. To recap on what I need to do here, by the way, because I might as well explain the story a little bit. So, we need to gather the 4 crystals of light, as I mentioned, and the first crystal is the Earth Crystal, which isn't that far away. The problem is the ocean that we're currently in is not in any way connected to the ocean where through which we can access the cave where the Earth Crystal is. This isn't that big a problem because dwarves have been working on connecting the two. And, you know, if we can get them some nitro powder, they'll be done very quickly. The problem is, the nitro powder, it's in the starting town, but it's behind a locked door, and I need the mystic key to open that. Now, the mystic key happens to be in the hands of the elves, which is fine, because the elven prince, he's a cool dude. He can just give us that key, were it not for the problem that the Elven Prince is currently under a sleeping curse inflicted by the Dark Elf Astos. Now, we can wake him up. For that we need the Jolt Tonic, which we can get from Matoya. And Matoya, she's cool, she can give us that Jolt Tonic. Except her eye got stolen, so she's blind and she can't actually help us with that right now. So we need to get the eye back from Matoya, or for Matoya, give that, which is currently held by the Dark Elf Astos, which will only fight us if we have the crown. So I need to get the crown in order to get the Crystal Eye, in order to get the the Jolt Tonic, in order to get the Mystic Key, in order to get the Nitro Powder so I can actually blow up a canal and continue. This is the first of these items, the crown. That Pisco Demon encounter, by the way, that's kind of like a mini-boss that we had to go through. Anyhow, we're going to move out of this place and we're going to head over to Astos to get that Crystal Eye so we can head to Matoya, so we can give that to the Prince, so we can get the Nitro Powder, move to the Dwarfs, and, you know, blow up a canal so I can get to the first of the crystals. Now, this game gives you a lot of freedom in general in how you do the crystals. The only requirement being that the Earth Crystal has to be the first one. All of the other 3 crystals you can do in whatever order you want. There are a few things you need in order to enter certain dungeons, which is why we do them in the order we do. For example, in order to enter the Flying Fortress, where the Air Crystal is at, you need the Rosetta Stone, which is in the dungeon with the Water Crystal. So from a speedrunning perspective, it's easiest to do, or it's best to do water before air. In an old route of the game, we actually used to do fire last. In the current route, we're doing the Fire Crystal as the second crystal. So we have had a little bit of changes in terms of order, and there is definitely something there. But the intended order of Earth, Fire, Water, Air ended up being the fastest order. Getting a bit unlucky here on getting to Astos' Keep. Something that I haven't mentioned yet, you may have noticed I took the left path there, and it's about as fast to take the left or the right path. The thing is, the left path has a lot fewer forest tiles, and certain tiles have a higher chance of giving you encounters than others. Plains generally do not give a lot of encounters, forests tend to do just that. Anyway, we're getting to the ruined castle, and we meet the true, somebody who wants to be the true Elven King, Astos. We've got a bit of an interesting strat for this fight. He uses death, and if this hits, this is really bad, actually. Okay, he misses. Perfect. So we're gonna staff with both of the mages, which is generally enough to kill. The black mage has to use the staff, or it's bad. White mage getting 213 damage is really, really solid, so the black mage is now guaranteed to kill. We set up the warrior and thief to attack in case the rolls of the, specifically the white mage, wouldn't be high enough. They could finish up the fight with physical attacks. Good fight though. The death is kind of the thing that you're afraid of. Death itself doesn't do much, except it makes it a 2-turn fight in some situations. Not necessarily, but it can waste some time. Anyway, that gets us the Crystal Eye, so now we can head over to Matoya. Which, we're going to start off with a long walk through the forest, and hoping and praying not to get a lot of encounters. So Matoya, she was actually pretty close to the starting town, so we're going to have to pretty much backtrack there. We can skip a little bit of the area that we didn't, or by sailing a bit differently, but we still do have to go past our starting town in order to access Matoya's cave. Getting somewhat unlucky on these encounters, and there are some more wolves. This is really unfortunate. So these wolves, as you can tell, they are just a pain to deal with. There's not really much more to say about that than that. They are just a pain. They are not fun, and we are getting a lot of them. At times I've had runs where I've had close to 100 wolves in a run, and that can just be... It wastes some time. It's generally not the major time loss, because like I said, encounters tend to kind of even out over the course of a run. So unless you die somewhere, generally you expect runs to be somewhere between like 130 and 134, depending a little bit on the luck. Yeah, we're gonna head up here. So over here, this is where the starting town is. That's the town of Cornelia. We're gonna go under this bridge though, and we're gonna park our ship over here. Now I can park that on 2 tiles. I can either take the leftmost tile of the dock or the rightmost tile. The leftmost tile skips me taking 4 encounter checks, but it's a bit slower because overworld movement is slower than moving by the ship. Or I can take the rightmost tile, which has 4 additional encounter checks, but does mean that I move a little bit faster. It's kinda, you know, trying to play around the RNG, trying to see, you know, do you want to take that risk? Generally, most runners will go for the rightmost tile. We enter Matoya's cave, and we're gonna give her the crystal eye, so she can get us the Jolt tonic. We see her around running blind. We could have actually entered this dungeon earlier, and we would have already known that she didn't have the eye. We would have seen this before. But because we have the crystal eye, we can just immediately go in, and we don't actually have to enter and exit, then enter later on again. So now that she can see again, we're gonna move out. The broom actually getting in my way, but not that bad. Those brooms tend to sometimes actually get stuck in the door, like in the doorway itself. There's one broom that can do that, and that can just flat out lose you like 30 seconds. A French runner of this game, Aosabe, has actually once lost world record to that. He ended like 10 seconds behind world record, but he lost like 15 to 20 to the broom. Yeah, we're gonna get onto our ship and we're gonna head back to the Elven Castle where we're gonna get the Mystic Key as well as our first major equipment upgrade. We're gonna upgrade our equipment a few times over the course of the run. Most of that has to do with either dealing more damage, which is not this one but the one after this, or with making running away from encounters easier. I'm gonna enter the castle from the side, saves me a few extra steps. We're gonna talk to the assistant from the not the assistant, but like the doctor of the healer from the elves. He's gonna use the Jolt tonic. We're gonna wake up the Elven Prince, and you know, him breaking out of the sleeping curse. We're going to get the Mystic Key from him. Now, generally, for most runs, you expect to get the Mystic Key like around the 17-minute mark. Good runs tend to be around like 15 to 16. If you got unlucky, it can be around 18, because a lot of the RNG is in the early parts of the game, because you don't really have a chance to run. We're gonna get this Mithril Hammer, and I'm going to use that to equip some Thieves' Armlets. Let me restate, every single time I equip one of those pieces of equipment, it's a frame-perfect glitch that I'm doing. Just wanted to get that out there. So it takes some practice to get that down, especially newer runners tend to struggle with that a little bit, although it is fairly easy to execute. So I'm gonna go into the Elven Castle and I'm gonna buy some gold needles. That's just for safety later on in the run. Technically this is not a required item by any means, but the reason I want those is in case a party member gets petrified, because petrification basically counts as dead. But you can't heal it off with anything but a gold needle. So those things are going to be very, very useful for safety in some of the upcoming dungeons. And with that, we're going to take our ship once more and we're going to go back to the starting town, because now that we have the key, we can actually get the nitro powder. The Thieves' Armlets that I equipped, by the way, like I said, it is an item that helps me run, but basically what it does for every Thieves' Armlet that I have equipped, that character gets a +5 on agility. So for the 3 that I have equipped, it means a +15 total on agility per character. And since agility is the stat that allows me to run or not to run, it's going to be a major advantage to just have those out of the way, get some extra agility, and that will make the next few dungeons a lot easier. We're gonna go onto our ship, and it's now finally time to head towards the dwarves. We're gonna give those dwarves our nitro powder. And we're gonna get that canal so that we can actually move on to the first crystal. Yeah, these wolves right now, not nearly as big a deal anymore. Entering Manduragar, and here we go. Doing that bit of movement there perfectly is actually kind of hard, by the way. So we're going to give him the nitro powder, and he's going to use that to blow up the canal. Now, this is... this basically involves another cutscene where you can see the land breaking up and falling in and all that kind of stuff. But, much like the earlier cutscene, it's actually skippable in PSP. Again, one of those cutscenes that's only skippable in PSP. If you were to play, for example, the GBA version, you'd actually have to sit this one through. Now, this cutscene isn't that long. We skip like 2 to 3 seconds of it, but it's still a nice 2 to 3 second time save. Yeah, that gives us just enough room so that we can actually move on. Yeah, getting those wolves out of the way. We don't care for wolves. Just gonna keep moving. So, before going into the cave where the Earth Crystal is at, we're gonna make a quick stop in Melmond to get our next major upgrade. And this time it's mostly just about damage, and this is the biggest upgrade that we're going to get over the course of the game. So we're still wielding staffs, and as good as this staff may be, staffs are generally not that good for damage. So what we're going to do instead is that we're going to go equip the Barbarian Sword. Now, I want to kind of try to give you guys an idea as to how powerful that sword is. So you guys may have heard of a sword called Excalibur, one of the most powerful weapons in the game by far. And the Barbarian Sword has a base power almost 3 times as high as Excalibur. For comparison, it has a base power of 125 compared to 48 for the next highest weapon, Excalibur being at 45. On top of that, the Barbarian Sword gives you a strength boost of 15 when equipped. It's normally only accessible in the 20th anniversary edition or after, only by beating that toughest version of the super boss Chronodia in the Labyrinth of Time, which is the hardest bonus dungeon in the game. So basically the only way to access it is by beating the hardest boss in the hardest dungeon, and then basically in the game, and then normally you'd only be able to equip it on the warrior as well. Because of the equipment glitch, we also get it equipped on every single one of our party members. I'm gonna make my first safety save here on B3, and that's not without reason. There is an encounter here, the Cockatrices, where I made a mistake with those mages, by the way. That's fine. But the cockatrices have a chance to petrify a member upon hit. Now, if I were to get ambushed by cockatrices and I get unlucky, I can have my entire party be petrified and there's not much I could do. I'm taking a safety save in case something like that happens. We are also about to come up on the next boss of the game. Now, this is another somewhat minor boss, but this is the vampire. This is basically the guy that guards the Star Ruby and guards the path onwards to the Lich. So we're just gonna attack him to show off how powerful that sword is. Yeah, that was the vampire. Easy fight. Now I'm gonna go grab this chest. This is the Star Ruby, and normally you'd like to continue further into the dungeon. The problem is there's a stone slab blocking the path, and the only way to get rid of it is by getting the Earth Rod. The path towards the Earth Rod, however, is blocked by a giant. You know, giants like rubies, so we're gonna give that giant the Star Ruby. We've got some wolves over here. We're not gonna care for those. Lots of wolves today, that's for sure. Yeah, had I gone for that mini game and I would have gotten the emergency exit, I would have used it after picking up the Star Ruby. On average, this walk out takes a minute and a half to 2 minutes. And it's the longest bit of backtracking that you do over the course of a run. Luckily, we've had some pretty decent encounter RNG. So far, this Cavern of Earth isn't all that bad, honestly. But with that out of the way, we're gonna go towards that giant... Ooh, Shadow Ambush. That's... I guess I should explain shadows. Basically, a shadow ambush usually means that the game hates you. Shadows can only ever be a preemptive or an ambush. They are never a regular encounter. And in the PSP version and the GBA version, it's much more likely for it to be preemptive than it is to be an ambush. In the PSX version and NES version, however, it's much more likely for it to be an ambush, so they switched that around for the later versions of the game. So we're gonna give the giant a ruby. He's gonna slowly walk out. He's gonna move up here, which is a little weird because there's nothing actually up there, but hey. I mean, other than the staircase out, but yeah, he just disappears. I believe in the earliest versions of the game, PSX and NES, he just walks into the wall to the left. And thus we enter the Sage's Cave. Now, right here in the Sage's Cave, we're going to talk to this guy, and he's going to give us the Earth Rod, which we can use to go past the stone slab and actually go for the first major boss of the game. So, in terms of bosses, there are a few bosses that are very noteworthy. The first one coming up fairly soon, which is the Lich, which is the first major boss, the first boss that actually protects a crystal. He is also at the same time one of the most deadly bosses of the game. Hopefully you will not end up seeing why. That fight can either be very, very quick or very, very problematic. We'll save just before him though, so it won't matter too much what happens. Got about a, like, I want to say about a 90% chance of nothing happening, and then like 10, maybe even more chance of nothing happening, and then like maybe 10% at most for something bad to happen. So back into the Cavern of Earth we go, and we're gonna go back to floor 3, where we fought the vampire. And once we've done that, we're gonna go deeper into the cave, onwards to the Lich. This is, trust me, this is the last time we'll have to visit this dungeon, so enjoy it while it lasts. Two pretty quick encounters back to back, but that's all fine. Okay, gonna heal up both of my mages, we're gonna save up, and we're gonna actually go head further into the dungeon. Judging by the in-game time, my time actually isn't that bad, by the way. Ooh, 4 Pisco Demons. So the Pisco Demons, I don't think I've explained this, but the Pisco Demons are one of the unrunnable encounters in the game. It's an encounter that is, no matter how hard I would try, impossible to run from. So we'll just have to end up killing this. Now, since there are 4 of them, it's faster for me to just use the Judgment Staff and get rid of them like that. White Singas. I still, like, these encounters are not one that I like because of that paralysis. You may have noticed, like, they've already paralyzed 2 of my party members, and they actually have a chance of paralyzing everybody. Now, I once had a run that was on world record, or console world record pace, and that just died right here to a 9 white gas ambush, and that can just happen. Yeah, we get to the stone slab, we use the earth rod, and it's time for us to move downstairs, and we're gonna head towards Lich. I'm going to also ask somebody in the audience, or M3, or, you know, anybody that's willing to do so, to give me a time after I've killed Lich, basically once the battle fades away, just so that I have an idea of pace, because I really, like, Lich is usually the first benchmark for how good a time is. The early part of the game usually tells you a lot, but it is at Lich that we generally say, okay, this is a good run or not. Getting a little unlucky, getting 3 more Pisco Demons. Now, 2 Pisco Demons is fine because you can just physical attack it. 3 is even, so it's whatever my menu is on. And 4, it's better to Judgment Staff. Never a fun encounter to get, but whatever. Okay, gonna make that safety save here, and we're about to come up on the very first really big boss of the game. Let's see what he's gonna do. So this is the Lich. Oh, whoops, sorry. That was supposed to immediately activate again. We're just gonna attack this guy. He's a really straightforward fight. The thing that can go wrong is that if he happens to outspeed me, he has a move called Blazara. And Blazara is very, very deadly at this point. Other than that, it's an easy fight. So that's the Lich. Hey, Sam! Yeah, easy fight. That's the Lich. Can somebody give me the current time? As we have killed the Lich, we're gonna see the first of the bonus dungeons unlock. The Earth Gift Shrine. Now there's 4 main bonus, or there's technically 5, but the first 4 that we're gonna be seeing, 4 main bonus dungeons that we'll see unlock. The first one, a 34 flat. Okay, that's a pretty decent time. That's very average. But all of these first 4 bonus dungeons, each of you unlock by killing one of the main bosses. will contain some of the bosses of the Final Fantasy Fantasies 3 through 6. This one having the bosses of Final Fantasy 3 in it. So with that out of the way, like I said, at this point we're going to get a whole lot more freedom. We can basically explore the world as we want. We're still limited to whatever means of traveling we have, and we haven't unlocked everything yet. The first thing that we're going to have to do pretty much, and this is still kind of forced, so I guess this is the last thing we need to do before we get that freedom, is that we're going to get ourselves a canoe, which is going to unlock a whole lot of other dungeons all of a sudden. Once we get the canoe, we've got 3 different options in terms of dungeons that we can go to. We can either go to Mount Gulp, which is where the fire crystal is, and which is what the game intends you to do. However, you also get the option to go for the Citadel of Trials for the class upgrade, although you need the airship in order to actually be able to get that class upgrade. And we're going to have the option to go to the Cavern of Ice, which is where we need to go if we want to get an airship. Now what we're going to do is we're not actually going to go for the Fire Crystal first. We're going to still do some side questing around first because we can and because it ends up being a lot faster. Mainly because actually traveling to that dungeon takes quite a lot of time. And when you do it with the airship, you can just do it very, very quickly. Like, it takes a few seconds to do it with the airship. It takes about like a minute to do it by foot. So it might even be more actually, but yeah, we'll definitely try to get the airship first. So we're gonna just get that canoe. We're gonna upgrade our means of transportation, unlocking more options as to where we would go, and then we'll actually do the rest of it. Before anything else though, we'll do a little bit more shopping here. First of all, I'm going to get a few ethers. 41 is generally enough. That's just for being able to heal more easily later on. And we're getting at a mithril axe, and that's for another equipment glitch coming up very, very soon for our next equipment upgrade. And then we're going to go to the Circle of Sages. We're going to talk to this guy, and he's going to give us the canoe. And at this point, we've got like 3 different options as to where to go. So let's first do that equipment glitch. So we're going to glitch some black garbs, and black garbs have another agility boost. Instead of the 5 agility boost that we had before, these things give an agility boost on 10. So 10 per black garb per character. So like it's 30 extra agility for each party members over the 10 or over the 15 that we had before. However, we can only equip it from the warrior, so there's only the 2 party members adjacent to the warrior that I can equip it to, which is the thief and the black mage. I could do the white mage as well, but that would waste a little bit of time of extra menuing. And yes, Sam, to answer your question, I'm not streaming to my own channel because this is a marathon. Basically just a whole bunch of different streamers streaming to the same channel back to back. And I had the honors to do the final run in this. Okay, getting a little bit trolled by these Sahagins. Sahagins shouldn't be too hard to run from anymore, but they tend to still be. So with that, it's on to the Cavern of Ice, which is where we're going to be finding our... which is where we're going to search for the Levy Stone, which we can use in order to get the airship. Now, Cavern of Ice, which is the dungeon... it's... Okay, we're almost in. But Cavern of Ice is probably the most deadly dungeon in the game. I'll try to explain how many things can go wrong, but this is not a fun dungeon in general. So, first and foremost, there's a lot of things in this dungeon that can kill you. The main examples there being, there's a 1 in 64 encounter, the White Dragon, that with his HP just one-shots me with Ice Storm. There's a 3 in 64 encounter, the Dark Wizard, which has Faraga, which also just flat-out one-shots me. There is the Cockatrices, which are a lot more common, but can petrify party members upon hit, potentially being somewhat dangerous. There are Mind Flyers, which can kill a party member on hit, as well as have a chance to petrify to paralyze everything in the party. There is Spectres, Wights, Ghasts, and Ghouls, all able to potentially paralyze party members and paralock me. And Wraiths. I forgot the Wraiths. And if that wasn't enough, there are stuff like Pisco Demons, which just waste time. Just Ice Giga's Winterwolf, which is unrunnable. Just a whole bunch of bad encounters. We'll need some really, really amazing RNG from this point on for that, Malink. World record pace is not very likely. I'd say it's practically impossible. Also the reason that I'm taking several safety saves as I go along. This encounter is spiked, by the way. I knew I was going to get an encounter here. No matter how many times every single time I step on to that tile, no matter when I got my last encounter or anything, I am always going to see that encounter there. Or at least a combination of Wights, Ghasts, Spectres, Wraiths. There is the 1 in 64 White Dragon. This is a very dangerous encounter. It is a very high experience yielding encounter. He luckily didn't go for Ice Storm, so we are fine. That's a lot of extra experience, so that's actually fine. Now, you may have noticed that over the course of the run, I purposely kept my HP on both the Warrior and the Thief low. I needed them to be around... Okay, well, hold on. This might even be better. Ooh, this could be bad now. So I needed them to be around somewhere between 25 and 75 in order to die on the next boss. However, since I just got petrified on everybody but my Black Mage, I can opt to go for an alternative strat and just leave them dead until I get to the boss fight here. Since I was very, very close, it was actually worth it for me to do that. So we're going to go into into a mini boss fight here, and this is where we're going to grind up some levels. That could have been bad because I Judgment Staff with a Black Mage, but we got away with it. And we're going to pick up the Levy Stone. Now, the Levy Stone is what I need in order to get the airship. But before I do, I'm going to grind up a few levels. So, we don't actually need to level grind at any point in the run. The only reason we need levels here is because we want to get certain spells later on. There's 3 spells that I'm going to be buying. Teleport, Halara, and Haste. Now, in order to get those, I need my characters to be level 19 at the very least. So I'm going to grind them up to level 18.5, and that will guarantee me that I will get level 19 by the time I'm going to buy it, because there are still a few forced fights I need to do before then. Uh, 16 on the White Mage. Mainly the White Mage level is the one that matters here. Because the White Mage needs to be able to learn Hilara. It's slightly less bad if the White Mage doesn't have enough experience than it is for the Black Mage to not have it. But I still want them to have the necessary experience at least. I need to do at least one more fight. I'm gonna Gold Needle these two. Going to heal them to full. Save the game. And we're gonna head out of Cavern of Ice. Getting a little unlucky in that they're currently not letting me run. But we got away with it, so it's all good. Now at this point, stuff is a little bit less dangerous because I have a little bit more health to work with, although I will say my White Mage is really low in HP. Generally, you expect the White Mage to be at around 300. I get ambushed by a White Dragon, get the Ice Storm. If that had been before the grind, I would have died there. That is 2 1 in 64 encounters today. So that is really, really rough. Yo, Max! Good to see you. Yeah, we don't need to. This will be fine. That's 2 1 in 64s though. That's very, very unlucky. But we'll move on. Some more Pisco Demons that we need to kill off. Pack of 3 so I can just attack regularly. All fine. Yeah, you saw the damage from an Ice Storm there. Imagine that when I was still low on health and hadn't grinded up my mages yet. It's generally just something that can just instantly wipe the entire party. We survived 2 White Dragons though, so no double dragon rip today. Thank you, Sam. Now that we have the Levy Stone, we can actually go get the airship, and that will pretty much unlock every single place in the game, except for like a handful that have some other key items that you need in order to enter. First and foremost, we're going to get the airship itself, and then we'll head over to the Citadel of Trials, where we're going to get the Rat's Tail so we can get a class upgrade. Lots of encounters here, unfortunately. The Saag and Big Eyes tend to be major trolls sometimes, but luckily they seem pretty tame today. So, much like every other cutscene we've had up to this point, we're gonna enter the Ryokan Desert and we're gonna get another cutscene. And again, because this is PSP, it's actually going to be skippable. Now, because this is a marathon, I'm going to make a safety save here. There is a very, very small chance of encountering sandworms. Well, the chance of encountering them isn't that rare, but there is a small chance that they ambush me, and if they do, they have a chance of using Earthquake, which is an instant death move, or an AoE instant death move. If they happen to hit every single party member, that would mean a wipe, and I'd be sent back into Cavern of Ice. Now, I don't want to do that, so I'll just take that extra 3 seconds or so to make that safety save. Make sure that can't happen. These Sphinxes can be a bit of a pain. Sometimes I opt to just kill them because they can actually be a bit of a hassle to work with, but luckily this one worked with me a little bit. We're about to enter the Citadel of Trials, and this is actually, this guy over here, we need to talk to him before we can enter. And he's actually a little bit of a weird guy. In the NES version of this game, you need to show him the crown as proof that you're worthy to enter the Citadel. However, since it's a required item anyway, the developers for the later versions just figured, oh well, they must then already have it, so it's probably fine, and we can just, you know, have the people talk to him, and you can just enter like that. It's only in the NES version that you need to show him the crown. This is one of the unrunnables in his dungeon, the Minotaur zombies. There's two unrunnables. One of them does... I don't know for certain. I don't think it actually shows on this floor. I know it does on the other one, but it's a 1 in 64 anyway, so it's a very rare encounter. Although it is also on a spike tile, and we will encounter at least one of them, the dragon zombies. And there's the Minotaur zombie troll, which doesn't show up on this floor anymore, so nice. These nightmares, they are quite painful to run from. So we're just gonna go ahead and kill them. Now I will pick up that chest over there. That will get me into another nightmare encounter, because these nightmares are on a spike tile. The thing with that chest that I picked up is that that chest is probably the biggest time save in this entire dungeon. Getting that chest means I don't need to grind up my white mage to level 33 to learn Hilaga, which saves about like 5 minutes worth of level grinding. And you know, since nobody actually likes level grinding, it's nice that we can just flat out skip it. We're also going to get the gauntlets. That's just a little bit of extra safety for later on. These mind flyers can be a bit of a pain, but they're generally pretty easy to run from. And we're going to get the rat's tail. Now this is that spike tile that I mentioned. These are the dragon zombies. We'll get these every single time. It's a completely normal encounter. We did not get the Mega Elixir drop, unfortunately. They have a very small chance of dropping a Mega Elixir, which is a very, very useful item. But it's pretty rare. You don't generally see it. And with that, we're going to move back to our airship. We're going to get our class upgrade, and, well, we're getting pretty close to actually going for the remaining crystals. We're gonna go through the desert. Again, sandworms have a very small chance, but I took the safety save before heading in anyway. And with that, we're going to go to Bahamut's Cave, and we're gonna get ourselves that class upgrade. Now, the class upgrade is good for two reasons. First of all, we of course get a stat boost, which is really nice. But the main reason we want this is because there's a spell, Teleport, which warps you back a floor, which you can only ever get after you've done the class upgrade. Now, this Teleport spell is a really, really useful spell. It's gonna save about, I want to say 4 minutes just to get that spell. So we sack like a minute to get the class upgrade and everything, but it saves that time back easily. Okay, with that out of the way, we're gonna head out, we're gonna buy some spells, and then we'll actually start going for the next crystal, the Crystal of Fire. Yeah, the Ninja and Warrior now also have the ability to use some basic magic. But for the speedrun, that's not really going to do anything. They won't actually get enough MP to make that useful. We're going to get the White Mage Hilara, which is going to be our main healing spell for the run. And we're going to get Teleport on our Black Mage. Just a quick stop to get those. And after that, we're going to move over to Elfheim one more time. This is the last time we'll visit Elfheim. And we're going to get ourselves Haste. Now, Haste is probably one of the most broken spells in the game, in that Haste effectively doubles the amount of damage that you do in a turn. And considering the agility of the ninja and the amount of hits he already gets, that means the ninja can effectively just deal 10% of the boss's damage, the final boss's damage if he gets a crit, which is quite insane. Also going to ether up both of my mages, because this is the point where we're going to start using Hilara. So this is Mount Gulg, which is where we're going to find the Fire Crystal. Now Mount Gulg is pretty, it's a pretty cool dungeon, it's a pretty chill dungeon for one reason, and that's every time I step on a lava tile, I do not actually get an encounter check. So I can't get encounters as long as I walk on lava. So you'll notice that I'm going to be walking on as much lava as possible. I do take damage when I do that. I take 1 point of damage on each character. But as long as I heal appropriately, that's not really going to be a problem, because, you know, first of all, there's not a lot of enemies that I'll see to begin with, and even if I do see them, they still need to have some form of an AoE move that deals enough to kill me off, and if you heal appropriately, that can't actually happen. I'm gonna heal them back up to full here. Some runners opt to not heal at all throughout this dungeon. That is another strat, but it is a little bit more risky, because at that point there is a chance you hit 1 HP on characters, which means if you get an AoE move by one of the, like the Fire Hydra you just saw, for example, or the Hellhound, that has a chance to actually just wipe your party. Gonna heal again here. That was the last bit of lava that we did. We're gonna move over to the next major boss of the game, Merilith. Now, again, I'm going to ask similar question as before with Lich. I'd like to get a time on the kill for Merilith. Oh, what? Okay. That was weird. For some reason, it didn't immediately show up. Merilith takes 2 to 3 hits to get down. It's a really straightforward fight. It's just attack. Anyhow, that's the second major boss of the game. And that gets us the Fire Crystal. Like I said, very easy boss. For most of the bosses, except for like the final 2, they'll go over in like a blink of an eye. Anyway, could somebody give me the current time? 56:30. That's actually pretty decent. For those coming in, or that have only recently come in and are wondering why I'm turning off the capture card at some point, it's because the audio tends to desync a bit. I thought I fixed that between my runs, but it's not completely fixed. It's better, but not completely fixed, but during those fights it gets very noticeable. So I want to just reset it for like a split second, which you know, if I clicked it appropriately, it would have taken like a half a second and you wouldn't have missed a thing. But yeah. That's basically the reason why. Next time I'll do it before the boss fight so you guys can actually see the bosses. These bosses are like I said though, they're really easy. We're gonna get into Gaia, and I just picked up the bottled ferry. Now that ferry is gonna get out of the bottle and gonna move over to the lake, and we're gonna move over to the lake as well to talk to this same ferry. She's going to award us for saving her from that bottle by giving us the Oxy Ale. Now the Oxy Ale is an item that will allow us to breathe underwater. Yeah, it is Fitz, but you know, we'll make do. Like I said, it's not as bad anymore as it was during Lufia. Doesn't mean it's completely gone, but you know, we'll you know, the show must go on, and it's because of it not being as bad. At least it doesn't take that much time to sometimes refresh. That one just happened to be a little bit of an awkward moment. Yeah, I'm gonna teleport out of town. I could just walk out to the right, which is about as fast. The thing is, by teleporting out, I can actually set up my menu in such a way that it works out really nicely for this next dungeon, ending up in a minor time save. It saves like a few seconds, maybe 2 or 3, but it's one of those minor optimizations. We're going to talk to this girl, who is actually the ghost of a mermaid. And we're gonna see her fly off, and she asks us to save the mermaid, or to save the mermaids, which are currently in trouble because of the Kraken. Another cutscene, and because it's PSP, it's again going to be skippable. And we're going to enter the Sunken Shrine, which is probably the dungeon with my favorite soundtrack. Now, the Sunken Shrine is also very much known for its amount of unrunnable encounters. The Sunken Shrine has more unrunnables than any other dungeon in the game. It has 3 different unrunnables that we can encounter. There are the Sahagan Prince and Chief, which are pretty much the worst possible combination. There's the Ghosts, which are annoying, but not that bad. And there are the Water Elementals, which are only runnable when tied with a... how do you say? The Water Naga. Yeah, that was how that refresh was supposed to look like. Just for those that came in later. Because especially during battles, it tends to be somewhat noticeable. Okay, Fitz, I'm gonna ask you again, can you also give me the time on the getting the Rosetta Stone, which is the next chest I'm going to pick up? After that, I'll pretty much know for the rest of the game. Or I'll pretty much be done with that. Yeah, this is the Rosetta Stone, and this is generally that last point, which is going to determine your time. Last major checkpoint. The Merilith I usually check to see if I'm on a half-decent pace. Because for races and marathons, I generally aim for sub 1 Merilith at least. Rosetta is where it's at. That chest right there. Generally, for record runs, we consider about a sub 1 Rosetta to be a pretty good time. 101.20, perfect. It's that means, you know, it's not PB pace or anything, but it's a solid pace nonetheless. So these are the Sahagan Prince and Chief. These guys are very annoying. They do the red ones will die to any judgment staff. The blue ones only when the mages do it. Which is why I opted to only staff with the mages. This is also, by the way, I think the dungeon that most new runners get lost in at least a good few times. This is one of those dungeons where, even though there's a lot of RNG with the unrunnables, there's also a lot of execution in that it has one of the toughest menus in the game, which is coming up very soon, and it's very, very easy to get lost in this place. I'm taking this chest from the right because both of the other sides will have an encounter on them. That's wrong. Okay. Okay. Pretty decent menu. Yeah, that right there is probably one of the longest menus in the game. What I did is I equipped the survival vests, which has even more of an agility boost than the black garbs that we had before. Adding 15 agility per black garb, giving me a total boost of plus 45 if all of the 3 slots are a black garb, or a survival vest. And I equipped the Lordly Robes on the White Mage. Now, the Lordly Robes is an item that gives a plus 20 on magic, meaning that I'll heal for a lot more than I would normally do, and my spells will deal a lot more damage as well. This is the very reason why we needed that healing staff earlier. That transforms into the Lordly Robes, and that just effectively makes the Healara spell heal for as much as normally Healaga would. And with that, we're going to enter the next boss fight. I'm going to reset it now so that you can actually see the boss. So this right here is the Kraken, which is the next major boss of the game, and the third crystal that we're going to unlock. Yeah, well, yeah, as with the other bosses, just attack. You can do ink, it doesn't really do anything. Yeah, that was the Kraken. Sorry, I've got something in my throat for some reason. Whatever. Anyway, that was the Kraken. 2 hits and he's dead. Sometimes he takes 3. It's a very easy boss fight, honestly. Then welcome Karim. Welcome to the TIAthon Marathon. Yeah, we're gonna see the third of the bonus dungeons unlock here. The one of the sunken shrine, which is the Lifespring Grotto. Now this has some of the Final Fantasy V bosses in it. Very cool little dungeon. Definitely can recommend doing this. Very fun to play through all of that. Getting a bit unlucky, getting an encounter after the boss, that tends to happen sometime. This is a speedrun marathon you're currently watching. This is a marathon organized by the members of Team TIA. So basically we're doing a whole bunch of speedruns back to back of all kinds of different games. You're currently watching the last game of the marathon already, which is Final Fantasy I for the PlayStation Portable. Yeah, with that out of the way, we're going to enter the Waterfall Cavern, and at the end of this cavern there's a warp cube. Now, in an old route we actually used to do this before going into the Sunken Shrine, but because of the survival vests, it's a lot easier to run away from these nightmares specifically. They can still be a pain sometimes, but generally it becomes a lot easier because of having those survival vests. You'd be surprised, Karim, how many people currently speedrun FF1. There's actually a tournament of this game going on. I guess I might as well plug the tournament a little bit. So there's actually a tournament of this game going on right now. I think there's actually a match on as well between Sigma and INAB at the moment, which is currently in like the group stage with like some of the top 32 runners competing in this tournament. Really cool, definitely worth checking out. I'm gonna reset the capture card real quick to make sure the audio gets synced up again. We're gonna head over here. Now this is a spike tile. This will always give me Pyrolisks and Cockatrices and sometimes some mummies as well. And we're gonna get the best line of the game here after we've gotten the warp cube from this robot. He's gonna say, yeah, you'll see here. Buzzword, really cool guy. We're gonna pick up the ribbon, and you may have wondered why I never actually equipped anything into the shield slot. Now the reason we don't is that most items in the shield slot will just flat out hardlock the game. However, the ribbon does work, so we can glitch the ribbon into our shield slot, if I can get the glitch to work. Now, the ribbon itself is a really good piece of equipment in that it gives me a 50% resistance against every single elemental magic in the game, on top of which it gives me immunity to pretty much every single status effect in the game. It doesn't actually add anything to the defense, but considering we can equip it on the shield slot basically for free, it's a really useful piece of equipment. That is normally supposed to be a helmet, but, you know, with the glitch we can equip it on whatever we want. And with that, we're gonna go over to Lufenia, and we're gonna learn Lufeni, or to Melmond, and we're gonna learn Lufenian, after which we're going to Lufenia. So, we have one crystal left, which is the air crystal, and in order to get the air crystal, we need to enter the flying fortress. Now, as you might imagine, it's a flying fortress, so, well, it's flying. So that could be pretty bad. So what we're gonna do instead is we're gonna get the, we got the warp cube, which is what we need to warp from the Mirage Tower into the Flying Fortress. But in order to enter the Mirage Tower, we need the Chime, which we can get from the Lufenians. However, they don't talk English, so we need to learn Lufenian in order to be able to understand them. So I'll point out the town here. That's the town right there. And the closest parking spot, believe it or not, is all the way over here. Because the ship only parks on plain tiles, so it's really unfortunate. We will have to walk around for a bit. There are some really annoying unrunnables, so hopefully we won't be seeing those too much. Nice one step there. Winter wolves can be a bit of a pain, but generally not a big problem. Lots of preemptives so far. Got a Minotaur zombie. We'll just kill this one off. Easy. They can appear in anywhere between like 1 and 4 enemies. Sometimes tied with trolls, sometimes not. Ideally, we want to see them alone, or rather not at all, but we can just kill them off if they happen to show up. And thus we enter Lufenia. Now Lufenia is known for how trolly its NPCs can be. They can just block your path like that, and there's not much you can do. Back in an old route, we used to actually have to walk out again as well, and those NPCs are just annoying. Nowadays we've got teleport, so we can just teleport out. And with that, we can now actually go for the 4th and last crystal. The air crystal. Okay, we're just gonna Judgment Staff this. This is getting a bit annoying. This is the unfortunate thing that you sometimes get. They just sometimes tend to be a pain. There's not much you can do. Back to the airship. This is a really short flight because we can just park the ship over here. And we'll head for the Mirage Tower. Now at this point we've got like 3 dungeons left until we're done, so we're getting somewhat close to the end. Not just of the run, but of the marathon in general. That is a really good stretch, by the way. Mirage Tower is one of the highest encounter rates of any dungeon in the game, so getting a stretch like that is pretty lucky. Now right here on top of the Mirage Tower, there's actually a blue dragon that we're going to be fighting. It's another one of those like mini bosses. He actually is also a 1 in 64 encounter somewhere, or throughout that dungeon. But here we're actually forced into a fight with him. But yeah. What? Come on. But yeah, it's a very easy fight. It's literally one hit and he's down. These guys are a little bit more annoying. Getting a 5 encounter ambush is going to waste a little bit of time, especially because these all have gaze, and gaze is just a slow move. I gotta admit, I'm a little worried about my my white mage's health here. 273 is really, really low. I don't think I've ever seen her be that low this far into the game. And with that, we enter the Flying Fortress, which, as the name would suggest, is a flying fortress. Probably one of the easiest dungeons. It's very straightforward once you know the path. There's also, like, I think this is the dungeon with the most chests in it. So, you know, casually you can just explore this dungeon. There's a lot to find, but if you know the path, you can very easily make your way through without needing to sidetrack much. Now, I will mention real quick, on the next floor, there is a 1 in 64 encounter, the War Mech. It's very, very rare to see it, but if we see it, I want to see a lot of hype spam in chat. Or rather, it's your chance to shout War Mech. Okay, didn't get to see it before Tiamat. So the War Mech, it's a 1 in 64, which means on average you'll see it like once every 32 runs or so. Very, very rare encounter, but it yields more experience and money than any other encounter in the game. Of course, Sita, keep in mind, this is just a game. I know, it defies the laws of physics, but hey. Yeah, we're gonna fight Tiamat. Tiamat is a little bit stronger than the other bosses, as you can see, but he still goes down in one round. Easy fight. There is still a chance we'll find War Mech on the way out, by the way. It's not done just yet. We're gonna get the 4th crystal, the Crystal of Air, and with this, we now have all the crystals, which means we can travel 2,000 years into the past and break the time loop that Garland has set up. We also see Whisperwind being unlocked, which is probably one of the most fun bonus dungeons. I think Labyrinth is more fun, but most would disagree with me. That dungeon is 40 floors long, with 4 of the Final Fantasy VI bosses in it, and most of those 40 floors are in random order, except for 4 of them. It did not get War Mech, didn't even get an encounter on that floor, so didn't even get a chance to. Regardless, we're gonna head out and we're gonna go into the Chaos' Shrine one more time. Now, for those that have been around the entire run, you may recognize this dungeon, because this was actually the very first dungeon we visited. Right over here. First and foremost, though, we're gonna see this guy. Now that we have all 4 of the crystals, he is going to unlock the 5th and final bonus dungeon, the Labyrinth of Time. This is a PSP exclusive dungeon, I think. Maybe iOS, but I'm not sure. I don't think they have that. We're going to use the 4 crystals of light. And we're going to unlock the time portal. Going to make a safety save here, because this dungeon is very, very dangerous. There's a few encounters that can just kill me if they want to. Let's hope that doesn't happen. It's time for us to head to Chaos himself. So there's these white dragons. We've already seen 2 of them before. They're actually a very common encounter here. A really, really solid Death Eye split there. Really solid Death Eye split. Now, all the way at the start of the game, you may have noticed I talked to the princess and I got myself a lute, We haven't actually used that, but we're about to do so right here. In the NES version, you wouldn't actually be forced to get it, and you would pretty much get stuck here if you didn't figure out that that's what you needed. So we unlocked the stairs here with the loot, and it's time for us to head towards Chaos. So the story goes that Chaos, or rather Garland, we send the 4 fiends into the future in order to protect the crystals. So we are going to see the 4 fiends again in a little bit. We are going to have to refight every single one of the 4 fiends, and they are quite a bit stronger here than they were the first time we found them. Chaos Shrine is kind of easy, but can be pretty difficult. I will note, my ninja is almost at 300 health, which is a lot. My white mage is barely over 300 health, which is very, very little. Okay, so we are now in the basement floors, and this is where stuff becomes a little bit more difficult. There are some fights going to come up that are a bit tougher than what we've seen up to this point. From here on, bosses will be a lot stronger than we've seen in the past. They'll still not be that difficult, except for the final boss. The final boss is actually really difficult in this game. Compared to every other boss that we've fought so far, the final boss is not one to trifle with. Getting a bit unlucky of a floor here, but generally not that bad still. I want to say this is a pretty average Lich split. Lich 2. We're gonna fight the Lich one more time here, and he's gotten a massive upgrade. He's got a lot more health, and he's got a spell called Flare. I'm gonna hope that he won't actually... okay, he gets to use it. So this is Flare. Really powerful. As you can see, we somehow my white mage tanked it. I was kind of expecting my white mage to die as well. But yeah, that is the Lich. Always a bit unlucky when he uses flare like that. But that just goes to show what kind of upgrade these guys got, and that these guys are not easy anymore. With Lich out of the way, though, we're going to move on to Merilith, which is the second major boss that we're going to... or the second refight that we're going to do. Okay, good Merilith floor, so at least that's something. So Merilith also got a bit of an upgrade. She's not as bad as Lich. She's got Faraga, which hurts, but isn't... because of the ribbon, it doesn't deal as much damage. The thing with Faraga is that because of the ribbon, the damage gets reduced by 50%. So normally you saw, you know, it did a good amount of damage, but it didn't actually kill me or anything. Imagine that damage should have been just about double had I not had the correct equipment. It still wouldn't have been enough to kill off party members, but it's definitely a lot more powerful already. So this is the Kraken 2 floor. This one is most notorious for the water elementals that are on this floor. This floor can either go really, really well or really, really poorly. Okay, good Kraken floor overall. So same strat as before, we're just going to attack and we're going to hope we can kill him off. Yi also has got some powerful spells, Thundara would be an example. Now if we didn't have the defenses that we have, with the physical attacks he can one-shot pretty much any character. In a GBA or PSX run, or especially in GBA, but in GBA it's very, very common for the Kraken to just flat out kill a party member on turn 1. Well, and if you've followed the game so far, then you'll probably know what's coming up next. First we need to deal with these stone golems, but... So this is the first fight where I'm going to use a bit of a different strat. I'm actually going to use haste on the ninja. That almost guarantees a 2-turn fight. It's not completely guaranteed, but it makes the chances of it becoming a 3-turn fight a lot lower, from like 50% to, I want to say, about maybe 5%. Okay, there we go, exactly in 2 turns. So let's go, that's another boss out of the way. And with that we have got one boss fight left, and that's Chaos himself. M3, I will say this in advance, the time is going to be as soon as Chaos flashes white after I've killed him. So first up, gonna heal up, gonna use my ethers on both of my mages, make sure they have enough MP. Gonna do one more equipment glitch, and that's getting the golden staff from the gauntlet, equip the clothes. The closest to make sure that the white mage will be slower than Chaos. So I won't get a heal at the same time I'm going to be, or I don't heal or heal before his attack 1 turn, and then after his attack the next turn, giving him 2 turns to attack back to back. Yeah, boys, we meet up with Garland one more time. We see Garland transform into his true form, Chaos. Do one last reset of the cap card, make sure that, you know, we don't get weird desyncs here. No, Hilara. I don't think the ninja will need it. The white mage may need it more. I'm a little worried about I was a little worried about my white mage's health. My ninja at almost 300 seems to be doing pretty well. Nice. M3, glad to hear. Attack. Ilara haste. So we're gonna basically haste up everyone. Chaos can do one of 2 patterns. He can either use physical attacks in the smaller spells, or he can go for his really powerful spells like Tsunami and Cyclone. Completely RNG what he's going to do, and this fight can either go really, really well or really, really poorly, depending on what he decides to do. This may kill off my Black Mage. I think the odds are fairly low, but we'll see. Okay, my ninja is suffering a little bit though. Okay, get ready on time, M3. His time is any minute now. Crit on the white mage, but we tank it because we had that extra bit of health. Good stuff. Should be the next turn, I think. Can somebody, once you guys see the time, can somebody post it in chat for me? Time. Yeah, that was Chaos. And that is Final Fantasy 1. Pretty good run, I'd say. Definitely something I can be happy with. Now, before I go off... Oh, dude, sub 130? Nice, let's go! Was hoping for that sub 130, but getting a 129 in a marathon, really, really solid. That's 2 sub 130s in 2 days for me. Really happy with that.